Hello and welcome to another Warnie Ashes spin. We've got rid of Michael Vaughan this time. He was way too boring. This time we've got the best ever batsman, English batsman that I bowled to in the wonderful Graham Gooch. And I'm sure he's got a lot to say about, and let's try and see if he wants to gloat about England's victory so far. Goochie, welcome to Warnie Ashes spin, mate. Thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
As I said, you must be happy with a 3-0 victory.
I think, I mean, if you win the Ashes series, any margin, that's good, but to be 3-0 up with a game to play is beyond our wildest dreams. Although, I think the matches have been a lot closer than that, and results could have gone either way, especially the first one. Yep. We were a bit fortunate at Old Trafford, as you know, with the weather helped us out when the Aussies were in a great position. So, yeah, to win the series is the ultimate in all Ashes cricket for Australians and for Englishmen. You know, we both know that. But you know, it's been tougher as the series has gone on, and Australia have definitely improved as the series has gone on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I've seen, I think, from the Australian point of view, is that I think England have been the better side. They deserved to win the series, but I think there's been some encouraging signs for Australia through the end of the series that looking forward to the Australian series, I think that'll hold them in good stead. Is there anyone in the Australian side that surprised you?
Well, I think the opening bowlers have been outstanding. Ryan Harris has had a fantastic 4 tests, since he came in after the one at Trent Bridge, and Siddle's backed him up brilliantly. And since they've had Lyon in the side, they've looked a more settled side. And I think as the series has unfolded, it's looked as though at the beginning Australia were not sure what their best team was, but now it looks a bit more settled, and it's been a really tough contest, and the opening batsman has been sorted. I suppose if you're Shane Watson, you might not be that happy. He's been moved up and down the order, but he went in at 3 in this match at the Oval and scored a magnificent 100. So he's probably cemented his place there. So I think it'll be a lot tougher series. Looking forward to Australia, that's for sure, when you guys are on your own home patch.
Yeah. What about improvements? It's just seen a little bit of Australia. What about England? Do you think they can? You think you guys can improve a lot?
Absolutely. I think we're going to have to improve to retain those Ashes come January in Sydney, because some of our guys have not had great series. Obviously, Ian Bell has been outstanding with the bat. Peterson's chipped in with runs, but heavy run scorers over the last few years, Jonathan Trott, Alistair Cook, Matt Pryor's been exceptional. Have really had a tough time scoring runs. So Joe Root got the 100. So there's a lot of improvement going to be needed, and support for the bowlers will be needed with guys, because obviously 5 tests with back-to-back test matches. Anderson and Broad have been, I think, outstanding. Yep. You've got plus 500 test wickets between those two, so that's a pretty good opening attack. Well,
it sure is. What about the banter? There's been a bit of banter on the field through a few of the test matches on off. There's been a lot of off-field banter with everybody. What about the banter? What do you reckon some of the England players like Stuart Broad can expect down there in Australia?
Well, it's been topical, isn't it, this last week, and look, I think we all know in cricket who plays the game that, a lot of people stand there and they wait for the umpire's decision. Any player playing Test cricket or any form of cricket is entitled to do that. So,
mate, I think hats off to Stuart Broad. If you nick one to slip and stand your ground and get given not out, I say well done.
Look, I think people have, without naming names, people have to be careful what they say, right? Because if you've been in that position and you've stood there and you've hit the ball, and you've waited for the umpire's decision and been given not out, I don't see the difference between that and what happened to Stuart Broad. One thing I would say, and I've always said, if you do get away with a few, if you get a bad decision where you haven't hit it and you get given out, then you have to take that on the chin as well. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this is an interesting. Everyone said Adam Gilchrist walking at the World Cup was fantastic. I think it was dissent. He got given not out and then walked off. So it's the reverse. Adam Gilchrist showed dissent to the umpire and should have been reported.
Well, look, everyone has to
so
make.
If you get given not out, you're going to walk off?
No, I don't think so.
You got that wrong. I hit that
one. Look, Warnie. What happens though? I don't mind people standing there if they hit it, wait for the decision, they get given not out, but they get the rub of the green. What I would say when teams and people complain about that is, if you get someone out as a bowling side, like you've probably got them out normally and properly every time, and you all get in that huddle, don't you? And you say, I don't think he hit that, did he? And they all say, no, he didn't hit that. I've never yet seen a captain call a batsman back.
Exactly. Let's get to specific stuff about Australia. Since the last time England were there, the wickets have got a bit greener. And I think that's really affected a lot of the young batsmen in Australia. So I think what we're going to see, I mean, obviously the board's going to want 5-day test matches and things like that. But I promise you that England players are going to be for a little bit of a shock, because there's been a directive from Australian Cricket, or Cricket Australia, to say that we want more of a contest between bat and ball. And they've left more grass on the pitches. Now, I'm not sure that's going to suit Australia or England, but I promise you it's going to be different to what England expect. It's going to be fast and bouncy, especially in Brisbane and those sorts of things. But when they get there, it's going to look a lot greener than what they think. Is that what they're sort of preparing for? Or are they preparing for just good wickets with a bit more pace and bounce?
I'm surprised you've said that, because my experience of Australian wickets, as you say, is that each groundsman, or curator as you call them, takes great pride in producing their wickets. So I think England have got a pretty expert bowling attack if the wicket moves around laterally. Sideways movement. Broad and Anderson already mentioned, got Tremlett, Finn, Bresnan. Don't know whether all these guys are going to be selected, but we're pretty much looking at those type of bowlers. And they were successful last time. And I think last time in Australia, the key was when England saved that first game, when, I have to say this, when we had on the board 517 for one. I've taken one photo on tour in 25 years, and that was the photo. I had to get that in. 517 for one. But, look, as long as Ryan Harris stays fit for Australia, and you've got some good young bowlers who've obviously had some injuries, and that's a strong suit for Australia. So if those wickets are going to be like that, it's going to be tough to score runs.
I know, it's going to be tough work for the batsmen. And it's not, in Australia, I know here in England, it's like, okay, we want these dry pitches. So you get dry pitches everywhere. And you might have someone out here, Mike Hunt, that might get a little bit, okay, I want to try and prepare the best way I can. In Australia, they still prepare the best wickets they can. And in my 20-odd years of being around, not once. The one time we asked in Sydney against India to get a bit more grass on the pitch, he said basically, F off on the grounds when you go and play. So we never asked, and that was in 20 years. So, but I think the directive from Cricket Australia has been to all the groundsmen, and what they want in the world is to say, there's too many flat pitches, let's try and make sure we can get more of a contest between the bat and the ball. So, it's interesting to see over the last couple of years about how green some of these wickets are. So it's going to be really, those techniques are going to be tested. And I think with Australia, you look at England's top order, Cook, Trott, and maybe Root if he stays at the top, or if he goes down, they're pretty well equipped. But all top orders are going to be tested.
Well, if it's low-scoring games, I mean, it's batsmen on bowler-friendly wickets. It's batsmen who can win you matches, because you should get 20 wickets if the wickets, behave like you're suggesting. So runs will be at a premium, and who has got the best technique and who has got the mental capacity to put a score on the board in those conditions if it moves around. I don't think anyone minds pace and bounce, and always you're looking for wickets that are a contest between the two. No one wants dead flat wickets, because it makes it difficult to get a contest. But if you have the ball turning, it makes an interesting game. The Durham Test match in England was a low-scoring game, but it was an exciting game. Could have went either way on the last day or on the fourth day. So that would be interesting if the mower is raised come the Gabba at the end of November.
So what about the England camp? You're super confident going to Australia? You think you've won the Ashes in England? Are you super confident that you're going to win in Australia?
I'm not an overconfident person, and there's no cockiness from my point of view. What I would say is that Australia have come back strong in this series. 3-0 is a good result for England, but the matches are a lot closer, as I said. England will have to improve a lot to retain those Ashes, because I think that they're going to need to find their best cricket always to beat Australia down under, and obviously the crowds will be on their back. So there's a lot of room for improvement. We know England can play really well. Our team is capable, played brilliantly in India a year ago, and they can recreate that, but they're going to need to do that to beat Australia again.
Well, I tell you what, you can pass on to the England boys, what I've just heard on the whisper on the grapevine. There's 20 million people in Australia, and I think every single one of them have just started to get a little bit annoyed that England are starting to thump Australia and continue to win that little urn. So I think it'll be a very hospitable welcome at the start, and it'll all be friendly. But I reckon as we start to get on in the Test match, I think the crowd especially really going to give it to the England team. I think they'll always applaud. They're always a very respectful crowd. If you perform well, you have to earn that respect. I suppose I'm interested in how guys like Stuart Broad and that handle fielding on the fence. I looked at Davey Warner over here at Old Trafford. The England crowd were absolutely giving it to him, and rightly so. And I thought he handled it absolutely perfect. He had a smile on his face, he didn't bite and whatever. I just wonder in England, when the Ashes is on in Australia, whether the England players will react the same. Do you think they'll react the same, or do you think they might get a little bit more aggravated?
Well, I don't think they're expecting the crowd to be friendly, even without some of these incidences happening. My experience is, and I think when we were down there 3 years ago and won, is that Australians love good cricket, right? They want their own team to win desperately, but above all, they like winners.
Yeah.
And if you win, generally, they like cricketers who win.
Yeah, and I thought when England did play extremely well and won the Ashes for the first time in a long time in Australia, I thought it was fantastic. The Melbourne crowd there to stand up and clap and say congratulations and well done. So I think the first couple of Test matches are going to be fun, but let's hope the little urn can come back to Australia, Gucci, because we've had enough of you guys dominating and bashing us. We've had enough. It's coming back to Australia.
Well, I'm just happy for you to be saying that, because when I played against you, we couldn't get our hands anywhere near the urn.
Yeah, all right. Thanks very much, Gucci.
Pleasure,
Enjoyed it, mate.
Pleasure.
Join us next time for Warnie's Ashes Spin. Who knows who we'll have next time?